News 25 is brought to you by Bees Embroidery and Garment Printing, specializing in custom and personalized decoration of gifts, garments, and more. Call 775-727-9444. News is also brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson.
Tonight, police identify the driver who fled from the law, and a new bar opens with plans to expand. News 25 starts now.
You're watching KPVM News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell. News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
A Boston man is arrested and booked following a pursuit. It's Wednesday, March 6th. I'm Deanna O'Donnell. Ali Rakshan is facing a slew of charges after he led police on a chase from California across the Nevada state line. 31-year-old Ali Rakshan from Boston, Massachusetts, has been identified as the driver that barricaded himself inside a vehicle on Highway 372 between Banovich and Murphy Street on Monday night. Rakshan was taken into custody and transported to the Nye County Sheriff's Office Detention Center following long negotiations between deputies and SWAT team members with the Sheriff's Office. It all began with a pursuit in California involving a CHP officer who was attempting, according to police, to have Rakshan sign a ticket for speeding. They say at that time, Rakshan fled the scene, hitting the officer with his vehicle. The CHP officer took up pursuit, which came across state lines into Nye County. Deputies here in Nye County set up spike strips on Banovich and 372, which disabled the vehicle driven by the suspect. Nye County Sheriff's deputies surrounded the vehicle, assisted by California Highway Patrol and Inyo County. Also dispatched to the scene was Nevada Highway Patrol, Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue, and Nye County Sheriff's Office auxiliary units to block traffic while negotiations were underway. A short time later, the suspect tried to flee once again inside his vehicle, which had flat tires. That's when a lieutenant with the Nye County Sheriff's Office rammed the front of the car, and deputies then breached the vehicle and took the suspect into custody. Police say that Rakshan appeared to be under the influence of a controlled substance. He said that he had taken medication earlier in the day. The Nye County Sheriff's Office has not been able to confirm what type of medication that was. Ali Rakshan has been charged with resisting arrest, obstruction, disobeying a police officer, and driving under the influence. And a new bar and club has opened up on Highway 372. The owners are currently building a new facility on Dandelion Street, north of Calvada Boulevard. News 25 caught up with Angelina Jackson to find out more.
We are up and coming lounge that we want to be welcoming to everybody that comes in, regardless of age or anything else. We will have gaming in our front building right now, and then in the back it'll just be strictly just music, dancing, you know, having drinks and having a good time.
Yeah.
And eventually we're planning on having a bigger structure over on Dandelion and Calvada. We'll have live entertainment and everything else. In our back facility we're open right now, we don't have gaming just yet. We're working on that, you know, how regulations and the law is. Yeah. It takes a little bit of time, yeah. But we're anticipating getting gaming here within 4 months. Right now we are open from 1 to at least 10 p.m. Mm-hmm. If we are busy, we will stay open longer. As a first-time customer, your first drink will be on us. And then we also have Ace Punch card that after your 6th drink, your 7th drink is on us as well, regardless if it's well or top shelf. All right. We just want to show our appreciation for our customers coming in and, you know, coming back.
Thank you. So you can come on by Nevada Desert Lounge. What's the address?
It is 1481 East Highway 372, and just follow the open signs.
This is a good location to have a party, an event, right?
Exactly, absolutely. And as long as you want, if you want to have an event here and you don't want it to be private to where it's shut off to the public, there'll be no charge. As long as you buy your beverages here, you can bring in your own catering, whatever, or you know, whatever. And if you want to close it down for a private event, it's only $50.
And General Motors is closing down a plant today. Angela Miles has that and more in today's Business First Brief.
Topping our news 2 days earlier than expected, General Motors will end production at its Lordstown, Ohio plant today. A GM spokesperson tells reporters it's the last time the factory will churn out the Chevy Cruze. Production is winding down sooner than planned because workers were ahead of schedule. Oil alert, Exxon and Chevron are going deeper into shale drilling. The oil giants are ramping up production in Texas and New Mexico, which is the heart of the fracking boom in America. Mega insurance company Aon is in focus today. Yesterday, that stock tumbled on word the firm has been subpoenaed by New York authorities. Reports say the insurance brokerage is connected to the Trump organization. A quick slice of the news coming from Papa John's. The chain has reached a truce with CEO John Schnatter. He will step down from the board by the annual meeting next month. Schnatter owns 30% of the pizza chain. He is the largest shareholder.
More news right after this break.
You're watching KPVM News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
Well, let's go to our own Unette Gentry with the latest cases currently in our courts.
In this week's court report, the former Nye County officer found guilty of the domestic battery charge he was facing connected to a reported fight with his ex-girlfriend, recently has his case in justice court for a status check, and he still plans to appeal that guilty verdict. During Richard Jason Deutsch's latest court hearing, Justice Lisa Chambly advised that she will have to recuse herself on this case. Pursuant to Nevada Rules of Judicial Conduct, revised rules, a judge must recuse themselves when they are related to a party or witness in a case by affinity within the third degree. So Deutsch's retained attorney, Melissa Berry, asked that the case be set for another status check, pending Deutsch's appeal of the case in which he is charged with domestic battery and injury to other property less than $25. Finally, the court set a status check on April 8th, advising that an order recusing and transferring the case to Department B will be forthcoming. Deutsch also has a status check in justice court on that same date for two other charges: injure or tamper with vehicle, damage $250 to $5,000, and injury to other property in a separate case connected to that incident in which his ex-girlfriend was involved. Deutsch was found not guilty of the two separate counts of disturbing the peace he was originally facing. However, since Deutsch has now been convicted of domestic battery under Nevada and federal law, he cannot carry a firearm, which now prevents him from fulfilling his job duties as an officer and a member of the military. Esteban Chavez Hernandez, the man police say was driving under the influence and reportedly struck a patrol vehicle back on December 15th and was then formally charged 4 days later, now has his warrant out for an arrest because he was a no-show for his status hearing in justice court. On that day, the defendant was not present. The prosecuting attorney, Patrick Ferguson, made an oral motion for a bench warrant. The court granted the state's motion and ordered a bench warrant in the amount of $1,000, cash only, with the state of Nevada parameters. Previously, during Chavez Hernandez's formal arraignment, the defendant was advised of his rights, the charges against him, the consequences of a first, second, and third DUI conviction, and the ways he could plea. The defendant was screened as to his financial status. The court advised that Chavez Hernandez does not qualify for a public defender, and he would be required to hire his own counsel. The state did not oppose an OR release, so the court released the defendant on his own recognizance with the following conditions: no alcohol, marijuana, or drugs, and no failure to appear and no adverse contact with law enforcement. Notably, that failure to appear is a violation of his OR release. This has been your court report. I'm Unette Gentry for News 25.
Thanks so much, Unette. Well, a 41-year study in Sweden shows that children born to women who had a severe infection during pregnancy, such as sepsis, flu, or pneumonia, show an increased risk of autism spectrum disorder and depression. Yet those exposed to even a relatively minor urinary tract infection in utero also experienced an increased risk of such disorders. Researchers looked at 1,791,520 records of patient data from Sweden's National National Health Registry, specifically looking at information for the entire population of pregnant women that were hospitalized between 1973 and 2014, and then up to 41 years of follow-up on those children that stayed in Sweden. Researchers say they looked at hospitalization codes, identified those who'd been exposed to their mother's infection in utero. Children born to mothers with an infection during pregnancy had a 79% increased risk of autism diagnosis and a 24% increased risk of depression diagnosis as adults. They also saw an increased risk of suicide in those children that had been exposed to infections in utero. The increased risk level for autism and depression was detected regardless of whether fetal exposure was to a severe infection or a urinary tract infection. Doctors say mothers should get their flu vaccinations during pregnancy to avoid these risks. The Veterans Extravaganza is happening this Friday. All are invited to attend.
The Veterans Extravaganza, this is the third year in a row that we are doing this, and it's on the 8th of March, Friday, and it starts at 10 o'clock, goes until 3:30. It's at the Bob Road Community Center.
And so right inside at the corner of Basin and Highway 160, what are you expected to see there at the extravaganza?
Well, it's going to be about 42 tables, so it's going to be quite a few vendors that are coming. And these are vendors that have all kinds of information for veterans and veterans' families for all the things that veterans have earned.
So this is a good opportunity for veterans and their families to find out about what resources that they have or opportunities, or even to talk about some benefits?
Yeah, I'm talking about all of those, whether it's educational benefits, financial benefits, or anything that the veteran has already earned just by serving our country.
Who are we expecting? What's some of the highlights of the afternoon?
There are vendors that are dealing in the medical area. There are vendors that are just coming out to say this is something that veterans can use. We'll have realtors there talk about mortgages and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So people will be coming from the VA hospital. They'll be coming from the state of Nevada to talk about veteran issues.
All right. Once again, it's at the Bob Rood Community Center when?
It's at the Bob Rood Center on Friday, March 8th, and it starts at 10 o'clock. The doors will open at 10, and it goes until 3:30. It will also have a lot of raffles for the veterans that come out. They'll receive tickets, and each vendor is bringing either a gift card or a basket. And all throughout the day, veterans will be selected by those tickets to receive something that the vendors are bringing out.
After this break, we're going to talk about what to do when you see a first responder on the side of the road.
News 25 is brought to you by Bill and Robin Law, injury attorneys. Injured, need money? Get Bill and Robin, your local Pahrump injury attorneys.
Well, between February 10th and March 6th, the Nevada Highway Patrol has had 5 patrol vehicles struck statewide by motorists while troopers were on calls for service or traffic stops. Thankfully, all of their troopers have escaped these calls with only minor injuries. 2 troopers, they say, remain on light duty while they recover from their injuries. Some of the reasons these crashes occurred are due to inclement weather and poor road conditions, motorists not observing the move-over law, and one motorist was suspected impaired. The Nevada Highway Patrol cannot stress enough of the importance of slowing down when approaching emergency vehicles working in an official capacity on the side of the roadway. Every year, first responders are killed in the United States from being struck by vehicles. According to the Emergency Responder Safety Institute, on average, 8 fire EMS personnel, 12 police officers, and 50 tow truck drivers are killed each year while working on freeways in the United States. Please remember to slow down and move over when you see a trooper or first responder on the side of the roadway. Their life depends on it. And this just in late this afternoon, the Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies have received a report from Pahrump Valley High School staff that a 15-year-old reported that a male staff member named Danny Lisk, who is 27, of Pahrump, was flirting with her via Snapchat and other social media accounts. The juvenile has been interviewed by police and allegedly stated that in January she received a friend request from an unknown username on Snapchat. The user then identified himself as Mr. Lisk, an adult staff member at Pahrump Valley High School. The police report says that Danny would send pictures of himself while he was at work and made comments to the female about her body and was also requesting pictures. He also allegedly would ask her to go out drinking with him and further, they say, offered the juvenile $50 to have sex with him. Police say that a second student came forward and said that Danny sent her a friend request on Snapchat using the same username. Mr. Lisk allegedly made similar requests to this student and asked her to delete the conversations after they were done. Deputies have conducted a search warrant for records through Snapchat referring to Danny Lisk's account and discovered several pictures of Danny as well as photos of the female at the high school and other students that appear to have been taken without their consent. A nationwide warrant has been issued for Danny Lisk, arrest on charges of promotion of sexual performance of a minor, luring children, and unlawful use of a minor in producing pornography. Everyone with information regarding this case is urged to contact the Nye County Sheriff's Office at 775-751-7000, or you can even email them at sheriff@co.nye.nv.us.
News 46 Weather Cam is brought to you by Glenn Lerner Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Let's take that look outside on our Glenn Lerner weather cam. We're going to have Michael Donahue here in just a moment to give us our weather forecast. Looks like there's still some clouds in the sky, but we'll find out more right after this.
You're watching KPVM News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
Hello and welcome back to News 25. I'm Michael Donahue. Today's highs. In Las Vegas, a high of 67, a low of 52. Death Valley, 77.56. Amargosa, 63.45. 60.43 in Beatty. Goldfield, 52.32. Tonopah, 51.31. Carson City, 50.35. Fallon, 59.33. And Fernley, 55.37. Today in Pahrump, we had all that rain all this morning. It's currently 58 degrees outside, a high of 61. Winds out of the south at 15 miles per hour, humidity at 68%, and the sunrise at 6:07 a.m. For tonight, we're pretty much all done with that rain. We just have some cloudy skies out now. A low will be 47 degrees. Winds out of the south-southeast at 12 miles per hour, 67% for the humidity, and 5:43 for the sunset. Now looking ahead to our 7-day, we do have a 20% chance of rain on Friday, and then we just have cloudy skies hanging out all through next Tuesday. Sunny skies are expected to return next Wednesday. Temperature-wise, we're mainly going to be up in those 50-degree temperatures, just between 54 and 61. We're just barely going to scratch those low 60s. And our overnights, we're going to be hanging out in those low 40s and those high 30s. Now remember, if you can't catch us live for the news, make sure to check out our Facebook page where you can catch the live news there when you're on the go and get updates and more. Now we're going to throw it back to the desk with Deanna.
Thanks so much, Michael. Well, Death Valley's temperature looks really good on your map there. They say that the park's visitation has doubled in the past 9 years and increased by 30% over the past year. In 2018, they say a record 1,678,660 people recreated in the park. Last year's busiest month was August, with 182,929 visits. However, summer visits tend to be quick stops between Las Vegas and Yosemite National Park. By contrast, only 80,396 people visited the park in January, but many of those people stayed to enjoy the park for multiple days. I'm just saying it might be a good time. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell from all of us here at KPVM TV and East Country Radio 103.1 FM. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.